Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all. Welcome to ACCIM Rcep webinar using Rcep for expanding business opportunity for Malaysian companies. My name is Yini, MC for today's webinar. Without further ado, we begin by inviting Dato' Ng Yee Ping, Deputy President of ACCCIM, to deliver his welcoming remarks.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Puan Jamila Haji Hassan, Senior Director of the ASEAN Economic Integration Division, Ministry of International Trade and Industry. Dato' Supramanian, lead discussant for today's webinar. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, everyone. Today is the ACCCIM's fourth webinar on the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Series. In the previous session, we have featured prominent speakers from government agencies, embassies, and trade organizations. They have shared their views on the Rcep agreement from different perspectives and spoke on opportunities available for businesses. With today's theme of using Rcep for expanding business opportunities for Malaysian companies, we will specifically discuss Rcep Chapter 2 provision, trade in goods. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been more than 4 months since Rcep came into force this year. And as business professionals, our greatest concern is the opportunities available and the potential threats from other regional Rcep members' competitors. However, I also believe that with Rcep, we will benefit from greater efficiency and ease of doing business over time. The trade agreement is set to help member countries eliminate or reduce tariffs and improve trade policies and regulatory environment consistency. Enterprises will have broader and better market access to cheaper raw materials. This will lead to a further reduction in trade costs with more trade items, allowing goods and services flow freely across industries in the region. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to point out that businesses, especially the SMEs, must be mindful of their challenges. There may be increased competition from outside participating countries, even in sectors where Malaysian companies have the traditional strengths. A study by Banga, Gallagher, and Sharma from the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development and the Boston University in 2021 stated that several members countries, including Malaysia, would become net loser post-Rcep. The study said that countries' balance of trade would deteriorate by 6% per annum due to the trade diversion as Rcep countries buy from more efficient exporters. Such trade diversion will cause intra-Asian trade to decrease, impacting the existing exporting ASEAN countries. However, analysts commented that the result of this study needs to be interpreted carefully as the study on the trade effects is based on static assumptions. Other factors such as dynamic and the multiplier effects on FDI's flows, export services, and inter-sectorial spillover have not been considered. Malaysian companies must actively adapt and take appropriate measures to sustain and enhance their capability and competitiveness. Overall, Rcep is a step into a free trade and open markets. With the proper adaptations, the supply chains among member countries will be more robust, the cost of goods will be more competitive, creating a better regional investment environment. Last but not least, I hope this webinar will provide us with all the relevant insights, and I'm confident that it will tell us timely updates on the impact of the Rcep agreement. And I wish all of you a fruitful session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dato' Ng. Now I will pass the floor to Dato' Subramaniam, lead discussants of today's webinars. Dato', please.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I'm not going to go into detail on, I think on the Rcep itself. The Deputy President has already highlighted some of the important elements of Rcep. He has in particular highlighted the opportunities as well as the challenges and so on and so forth. But today, we are going to focus essentially on trade in goods. And this will relate more to the tariff preferences which are being accorded under Rcep. So we know there are various aspects to it. There's a scheduling of commitments. There are countries which have offered every country participating the same treatment. There are some countries which differentiate. There are tariff differentials and so on and so forth. So it's somewhat technical in nature, but I'm sure Puan Jamila will be able to get us through the technical details. So the business people really want to know what are the items included, what kind of tariffs are being accorded, and which are the countries where they can export to, where are the differentials and so on and so forth. And I'm sure Puan Jamila will illustrate with some case studies as well. Okay, without much ado, it is my great pleasure to invite Puan Jamila to make her presentation. But before she takes the floor, let me call upon the participants, listen attentively, and you may have a lot of questions or comments to make. So please use the chat box to write down your questions. So because I'm going to allocate some time for discussion as well after she has completed the presentation. So on that, with that, it's now my great pleasure to invite Puan Jamila to make her presentation. You have the floor, madam.
Okay, sorry. Puan Jamila line's got problem. Maybe Dato' Subramaniam, you may continue the session first.
No, I have a technical problem there as well. Huh? Hello?
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
Okay, so we wait for a while because we are waiting. Puan Jamila will back online soon.
Okay, so she's rectifying something, right? All right, so I think I believe we have a large number of participants today. Please think of the questions you want to ask. Ask very specific questions. Huh? For example, I think there's one question that's already appeared in the chat box. I think it's a lady. Her name is Letitia Tay or someone. We say, is Rcep going to benefit the exporters more than importers? It's somewhat general, but I will ask Jamila to comment on that and on that particular question. That's the only question we have at the moment. But you please think about what you need to ask, because this is the only opportunity you have. Of course, you'll have more opportunities in the future. Just to allay your concerns, your doubts, ask for clarity in terms of how you can benefit. For example, the certificates of origin, will be required before you can qualify for preferential treatment. So you may want to ask her how to go about it, what steps do you need to take, for example. I know you might want to export a particular product to country A in Rcep, and you want to know what's the duty. Now, there the important question will be, first of all, you need to know what is your product and where it falls, under which heading, HS code, 6-digit. Otherwise, you will not be able to narrow down the tariffs which are being accorded by the participating countries in the RCEP. So these are technical details. Puan Jamila, you okay?
Yeah, okay. Just now we are disconnected, Dato'.
Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, can I start?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Hope everyone can hear me clearly. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and very good morning to Dato' Ng Yeh Ping, Deputy President of ACCIM, and Dato' Supramaniam. Okay, I'm glad to have this opportunity to enlighten the participants on Malaysia and the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, especially in trade in goods. Okay, I would like to start with the slide presentation where I can have the overview on the ASEAN Plus 1 FTA is existing. As we are aware that for the existing ASEAN Plus 1, they have different elements in terms of entry into force, market size, and economic size. And then also for the coverage, duty pays out date, as well as rules of origin and total trade for the respective ASEAN Plus 1. So if participant can have look on the screen, for example, there are the difference in terms of the entry into force. For example, for the AFTA, whereby it started in 1993, and now we actually consider it as ATIGA. Because of they have already implemented a long years ago, and the duty pays out is already implemented, whereby most of the tariff are zero. Okay, and also we can have a look at different existing ASEAN Plus 1 in terms of the ROO. So there are different type, but most likely is same, whereby the rules is 40% or CTHs and also PSR. Okay, and the coverage mostly for the ASEAN Plus 1 only for the goods, they have services and investment. Okay. And we move to RCEP agreement, and I believe that everyone aware that the RCEP agreement has been successfully signed on 15 November 2020, and it covers 20 chapters, and the party of the agreements it actually consists of 15 countries, okay, where this they streamline for the ASEAN Plus 1 to the one ASEAN and 5 FTA partners, namely Australia, China, Japan, New Zealand, and South Korea. Next. So, what is actually the key features for the RCEP agreement? Of course, when we negotiate for the RCEP, RCEP is actually, we set a rule for the one, and also to streamline the rules and amalgamate the ASEAN Plus 1 FTAs. And it's considered as a modern because of Rcep is actually update the existing FTAs and it cater for the tomorrow needs. Because in this agreement, they covers on the e-commerce, that is to consider the digital needs for the future and also for the micro, small, medium enterprises, as well as we deepen the regional value change and
dia kata tak move. Kenapa tak move?
can everyone follow my slide presentation?
Puan Jamila,
Yes.
you can hear me, right? Now,
Yes,
your
I can
slides
hear you.
are on the left-hand side of the screen.
Yeah.
Okay, now I think you have brought it to the broader one because the earlier part, there was only on the side. Now it's in the main frame. Okay, it's okay. Now it's all right. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so now we talk on the key features. So is it right now everyone can hear the same slide?
Yeah, okay. We can see the key features are there. No problem.
Okay. All right. So I mentioned just now, Rcep is modern, and also the Rcep is also comprehensive because of it covers 20 chapters, includes many areas that's not covered from the existing FTAs, and also this will be high quality agreement as it recognizes individuals and different levels of development and economic needs by parties, as well as mutually beneficial, whereby it provides capacity buildings and technical cooperation due to consideration in different treatment and understanding of different level of development and business need by the parties, especially least developed countries. For example, CLMV. Okay. Next, we go to the scope. As I mentioned earlier, why is actually Rcep is comprehensive? Because it covers 20 chapters. It covers actually expansion from the existing FTAs. For example, in terms of the trade in goods, we do have trade in goods as well as rules of origin, custom procedures and trade facilitation, sanitary and phytosanitary measures, standard technical regulation and conformity assessments, procedures, and in trade in service, actually they do have a special provision, especially on movement of natural persons, and in terms of business environment, they cater for the intellectual property, electronic commerce, competition, small and medium enterprises, economic technical cooperation, and also the GP. Okay. Next, we move to, okay. As of now, that considered as excluded elements, there is market access and dispute settlement mechanism for government procurement, grants, subsidies, incentive by government, as well as discipline and provision on export duties. These elements will be discussed later in the work plan for the Rcep. Okay. Next. Yeah, I think I just touch a little bit on the entry into force. As I mentioned earlier, most of us are already aware that the Rcep has already implemented starting January 2022. And Malaysia Malaysia joined the RCEP on 18 March 2022. And this RCEP is actually using ASEAN-owned models agreements, where this including the ASEAN +1 agreements, and many of the commitments look similar to ASEAN. And just touch a bit
Excuse
on
me,
the
Puan Jamila.
Yes.
Can you unmute? I see your sign. You're muted.
Oh,
Unmute.
sorry.
No, I can hear you. Okay, now you go ahead.
You can't hear you. You can't hear me.
No, just now you were, you're muted. Now you're okay.
Oh, okay.
I don't know whether the participants can hear you or not.
Yeah, Ken.
Okay.
Okay. So can I?
Oh, your voice is breaking, eh?
Yeah. Sorry. But the technical.
Okay, go ahead now.
Okay, as I mentioned earlier, that the RCEP has come into force starting 1st January 2022, and Malaysia joined the RCEP on 18 March 2022. And as of now, we still have 2 ASEAN countries yet to ratify, that is Philippines and also Indonesia. All right, so this RCEP actually is built using ASEAN-owned model agreements, including the ASEAN +1 agreement, as well as commitments look similar to the ASEAN. Okay, next. Just a little bit of snapshot for the RCEP. RCEP is considered as of now, is world largest trade pact in terms of market access. It's cover almost to 1/3 world's population, and also set the biggest of the producers and consumers for the agreement, and expected for the growing economies in Asia and Oceania, be connected through ASEAN Plus FTAs. And for these FTAs, we do have the top economies in the world, for example, China, Japan, Australia, South Korea, Indonesia, Thailand, and Malaysia itself. And for this agreement, this is collective ASEAN, and we are considered as the 5th largest economy in the world. So in terms of macroeconomic impact to Malaysia, based on the working paper is Asia's New Trade Blocks, published by Peterson Institute for International Economics in June 2020, mentioned that RCEP will contribute positively to Malaysia's economic development. And once RCEP has entered into force, Malaysia's GDP is estimated to increase by RM16 billion per year, or about 1.1% of nominal GDP for the next 10 years. And according to Matrade, the total exports to RCEP markets could increase by 21 billion ringgit per year. And the stronger integration in the regional production network will further boost overall trade activities. And in terms of job creation, this agreement is expected to create an estimate of 32,000 jobs annually, or 320,000 for the next 10 years. And this is actually based on the trend in yearly employment growth in 2016 to 2019, using data from the Department of Statistics Malaysia, where employment will increase by 0.2% when GDP grows by 0.6%. In particular, jobs will increase mainly in the manufacturing and services sectors, especially in trade-oriented sectors. And in terms of the FDI, an estimated annual increase of 0.7%, or RM 4.9 billion per year in net in FDI inflows. And this estimated increase in FDI inflows was derived based on the international investment position data on direct investment in Malaysia for the period 2016 to 2019. And according to UNTAD, On 15 December 2021, within ASEAN, Malaysia is expected to be the largest beneficiary of the Rcep agreement in terms of gains in exports, with a projected $200 million increase annually. And actually this will result from tariff elimination and reduction for merchandise goods, including the facilitation of export and imports of goods among the Rcep countries. Services providers, including e-commerce, will be able to enjoy greater market access in terms of cross-border supply and establishing commercial presence. And key benefits and challenges. For origin of Rcep, they have now 5 existing ASEAN Plus trade deals. So this is the challenges because of we have to streamline for the existing 5 ASEAN Plus 1 FTA. And also a big challenges in getting to finish line where various interests, i.e. liberal versus protective measures, and no agreements existed between dialogue partners. And tariff reduction also can be complicated. This is not all dropped to become duty-free, many with long timelines, and bigger issue is the complexity in terms of the 37 separate tariff schedules. For rules of origin, actually, this element is very helpful as it will have one ROO for each tariff line applicable to all member countries, and it will have a better trade facilitation that is faster, easier processing of goods at customs, and the Rcep proof of origin, i.e. we use a certificate of origin, COO, or declaration of origin declaration of origins, whereby we need a document to claim for the preferential tariff treatment. In terms of the opportunities, Rcep provides an opportunity for Malaysian companies by offering market access to nearly a third of the world populations, intra-regional sourcing of raw materials at competitive prices, integrating supply chain within the Rcep region, promoting greater transparency, information sharing, trade facilitation, economic cooperation, standardization of rules related to e-commerce, and provide certainty in protection of intellectual property rights. Now we move into the trade in goods chapter, where it contains key elements that govern the implementation of goods-related commitment to achieve a high level of trade liberalization among the parties. These include granting national treatment to the goods of the other parties, reduction or elimination of custom duties, duty-free temporary admission of goods, reaffirmation of commitments in the WTO ministerial decision on export competition, elimination of scheduled export subsidy entitlements for agricultural goods. And this also sets up rules for determining the applicable tariff treatment in cases of different tariff preferences applied by a party. Next. The IG also contains provisions on non-tariff measures that complements tariff liberalization outcomes. These include general elimination of quantitative restrictions, greater transparency on the application of non-tariff measures, administration of import licensing procedures, and the application of fees and formalities connected with importation and exportations. It also sets out a process for parties to conduct technical consultation on non-tariff measures that adversely affect trade between them, and also provides for the possibility of future work to be undertaken on sector-specific initiatives to facilitate greater trade. In terms of preferential tariff, reduction or elimination of custom duty imposed by each party on originating goods by approximately 92% over a period of 20 years. And for the tariff schedule, it may start at lower rates given that they are already reduced pursuant to the existing trade agreements, and may start at higher rates due to the complexity of supply chain with Rcep that involve many parties and non-existing trade agreement between parties, i.e. China and Japan and Korea, and etc. Okay, this is the example for the Rcep tariff as we mentioned earlier. So to have example, if we can have for the chapter 39 plus and articles thereof. So if we can see on the first exchange code for the 3901 and 3902. Okay, if we can have a look the schedule, the tariff schedule treatments. So for Malaysia, China, and Korea, and also Japan. So it compared. So if you can see there, for China, it started with 5% and it all will reduce until the year 20 after the 20 years, and it will be zero year 2020 right
30th year.
30 years after 20
years.
After 30 after 20 years it will be zero, and this is actually is differ for Korea. Actually it start 5% and consistently and will be reduced until 23 years. Okay, and we also can have a look on the HS code 3903 and also 3904, where the ROO for the PSR is CTH or RVC 40. So the starting is 10% for the tariff preferential, and it will reduce until year 15 to be as a lower as a zero. So enjoy exemption of the tariff preferential. And for the HS code 3905, 3906, and 3909, where the ROO is PSR, CTH, or RVC 40, it also actually shows that from the starting, it actually enjoy 10% and will radically lower until year 15 to be zero. And same also for the HS 3907, where the ROO, PSR, CTH, or RVC 40. For example, for Malaysia, it's actually enjoy 15%, and gradually until year 15, it will enjoy 0%. And for Korea, actually it start with 5%, and will gradually enjoy 0% for year 15. Okay, next, on chapter 39, plastics. Okay, if we can see on HS 39.13 and 39.22, the ROO PSR is CTH or RVC 40. So we can see there is different tariff commitment offered by different countries. For example, for Malaysia, we stick for 20% and gradually it will be zero at year 15. However, for China, it's already started with 10% and gradually and from year 1 to year 10, it's already become zero. And same as Korea will start at 5% and then gradually until year 10 will enjoy 0%. And for the HS 39.15, for the PSR CTH, Malaysia will actually offer for the 30% that is actually stating from starting until year 23. However, for China, Korea, and also Japan, it started at below than 10%, and then for gradually until year 10, they have already zero. And for the HS 39.16, 17, 18, 19, 20, until 26, the ROO, PSR, CTH, or RVC 40, so they have a different base rate and different preferential treatment tariff direction schedule until year 23. Okay, so next, for claim for the preferential tariff under these TIG chapters, it actually provides legal text on provision that covers by TIG itself, where it includes general head notes, individual head notes for each party, where it's 15 in total, and they have schedule of tariff commitment for each parties, 15 in total, and also appendix on tariff differentials, 7 in total. It's only apply for Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, China, Japan, and Korea. So in order for a product to be eligible for preferential tariff treatment offered by the TIG chapter, the product shall also be compliant with requirements set forth by other chapters, namely Chapter 3, Rules of Origin, Chapter 5, Sanitary and Phytosanitary Measures, Chapter 6, Standard Technical Regulation or STRACAP, and Chapter 7, Trade Remedies. Okay, I touch a bit on the RCEP for the ROO, how we actually determine the originating goods under the Article 3.2. So for the originating of goods, they have 3 different criteria, where the first one is wholly obtained or produced products. Second, produce exclusively PE or RVC 100%. And the third one is the product specific rules, where it consists of either change in tariff classification, chemical process rules, and also regional value content RVC 40. And in terms of this originating, to determine the originating of the goods, we need to consider also in terms of the minimum operation and processes that cannot consider as originating of the goods. So this actually can be explained in details in the articles, in the text rules of origin. For the regional value content that's constituted in Article 3.5, this actually how we define the degree of transformation of a product undertaken by a party. This is the formula how it will derive for your products to comply for the RVC 40%. And the higher value of non-originating materials, it will shows the lower regional value contents the product is. And for us to calculate for the RVC, it's actually based on the free on board value. Okay, next, for the tariff differential. So under RCEP, this is considered as a new element, as in the ASEAN +1, we do not have this type of tariff differentials. And for this tariff differential, it's constituted in Article 2.6 of Chapter 2. and only applicable to certain goods which are produced using imported inputs or raw materials from other RCEP countries, where I mentioned just now that is already implemented for 7 countries that have this kind of tariff differential treatment. So notwithstanding for the PSR, RBC or CTC rules, the exporting country is required to add 20% value during the production of the goods. Otherwise, the good cannot confer origin status of the exporting countries. In case of the good is unable to confer the origin of the exporting country, its origin will be RCEP country of origin or the country with highest value added. For example, the highest rate of custom duty that the importing party applies to the same originating goods from any of the parties contributing originating materials used in the production of such good, provided that the importer is able to prove such a good, or the highest rate of custom duty that the importing party applies to the same originating goods from any of the parties. Okay. For businesses to determine the product, whether the ROO and the supply chain and business strategy have a direction connection and also potential effects to the market access and preferential tariff treatment. So they need to have in their mind this consideration. For example, where are my materials sourced from? Do I have any processes carried out outside the exporting countries? Where are my current and future customers? How are the goods transported from the exporting country to the importing countries? And do I have a current or future plan to set up a distribution hub and carry out back-to-back certification? Can I meet the ROO? What is the current and future tariff rate for my products? And is there any opportunity to further optimize my supply chain? So this, we need to think of for the consideration in terms for you to enjoy the preferential treatment under the TIG chapter. So I think that is for now. Thank you, and I open for the question and answers.
Thank you very much, Puan Jamila. I must say that it's a very comprehensive presentation. The first part of it, of course, you talked about the opportunities, under the RCEP for a country like Malaysia and so on and so forth. But I think the second part of your presentation, to my mind, was the most important in terms of exactly how companies can benefit from, right? And what they need to do, especially when there is this element of tariff differential, then there is actual market access. And then one question that has been posed, in fact, it's also in my mind. You did not mention anything about the ASEAN +1 FTAs. How different are they from the RCEP? There will be some ASEAN +1 FTAs where the same product will have better treatment in terms of tariff rather than in RCEP. So I think it would be good if you have an idea of what are some of these products that they did not apply under RCEP, but they could go under ASEAN +1 FTA. That would be very good and very useful for the participants. And there are also, I do not know whether I should ask you all these questions before you answer, or you want to answer one by one. There are a few more questions that I have. What do you think, Puan Jamila? Hello? Hello, can you? Puan Jamila, can you?
Okay, yeah, Dato', okay. I don't have specific examples for the same product as I explained earlier on the plastic under the RCEP and also under the ASEAN Plus existing. Just to in general to explain. Okay, for the ASEAN +1, for example, we take under ASEAN Korea, right? And ASEAN Korea. For example, for the product ENE, for example. Okay, so in terms of the tariff schedule, maybe it's already 5%. Because of under ASEAN Korea, we have already implemented it since 2007, right? And the tariff reduction schedules most of likely have already reduced. Okay, and compared with, for example, under the Rcep, because Rcep only just implement this year, and the tariff schedule, maybe it start at 10%, and it will gradually reduce until year 10 or until year 15 for them to enjoy 5% or 0%. So for this, actually for the businesses, if they want to have a comparison, they need to know on the HS code of the products, and then they can make a comparison. I think the tariff schedules, actually, they can access under the tariff, under the customs website for the HS code for the tariff. So they have a comparison on that. So this is actually an option for the businesses, for them actually to enjoy whether 5% or 10%. But just think of in terms of for them to have to enjoy the 5% or 10%. The most important thing is the accumulation or the inputs for that particular products, right? For example, if let's say under the ASEAN Korea, actually they have input actually, for example, RVC. For them to meet the RVC 40, they need to actually have the non-originating material itself that is from non-FTA party. For example, they get from China as well as Australia and New Zealand, because it is considered as ASEAN +1, ASEAN Korea. So New Zealand and China and also Australia is not considered as originating, because the FTA is only ASEAN +1. However, if that materials they source it from China, Australia and also New Zealand, under the Rcep, they can accumulate it to be as a local content under the Rcep. Is it clearer, Dato'? Is it?
No, I think it's okay. I think it's important, because at the end, I would like to suggest what we should be doing with the government authorities and private sector. Now, there is actually one case, I got it from the participant. You know, this relates to tariff classification code. You know that you have the 6-digit, then you have the 8, you may have the 10-digit, for example. One particular company has asked this question, that there is a need for standardization, because for what our customs has classified the product, under a certain category, is not accepted by the other Rcep country. So I think these are practical problems that our exporters will be facing. So they're asking how, they're in fact suggesting that we should standardize. Now, how do you go about helping exporters, like in a case like this, where the importing country tak terima classification yang kita sebutkan dalam the application? This is one example. So how is customs working together with MITI on this to ensure that what we give the classification to tally is in tandem with the importing countries? Okay. Do you want to answer? I'm sorry, it's a very technical question, but one of the participants has asked this. Pleasure.
Okay, sir, for the tariff HS code classification, right? Yeah, this is under the World Customs Organization. For 6-digit at the first is actually applicable and acceptable by World Customs Organization, and everyone as international trade is accept as a 6-digit level, right? And under the domestic countries, sometimes they impose 8-digit, they impose 10-digit, right? And okay, I would like to advise the businesses that they have to get the right access code products from their importers, and not only for their importers, but from their customs authority in the importing countries, because of there are some products they are different interpretation and also classification by the customs authority themselves. For example, as in Malaysia as well, because of the experts, the expert people, that is the custom officers under the technical vision, where they actually determine the specification of the products. Just to add on, my colleague Nazri would like to explain as well on the technical term in terms of the tariff classification.
Yeah, okay. Is Nazri there?
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dato'. Okay, actually, regarding the difference in using the HS code, actually it depends on.
Can you hear? Can you hear clearly?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Actually, it depends on the FTA itself. For Artiga, actually, we determined to use it at the first 8-digit level. Whilst for the rest of FTAs, we have decided to use it the first 6-digit only. So with regard to the difference between the exporting and importing country, as mentioned by your good self just now, Dato', actually, first of all, in most cases, it is advisable for the exporter to get the right HS code from the importer. So in this case, their counterpart in the importing country should get the HS code from their importing authority, not determined by themselves. So because in most cases, Dato', we have detected that the HS code actually have been provided by the importers themselves, not by their importing country importing authority. So this is one of the main problem. So that by the time they got the HS code, so we can do comparison between exporting and importing country, which is under FTAs. The first 6-digit must be similar to each other. So that is from the technical perspective. I hope this one will clarify the matters, Dato'. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nazri. I think this is it was a very good explanation, actually. I tell you what it means is that our exporters, first of all, must know what under which heading, tariff heading their product or sub-product falls, and that, of course, our customs can help, in our classification. But I think more importantly, I think what is important is that the importers may not give the right classification. In countries, they have what you call customs directory. They've got authorities, who can really determine under which category our product will fall. So I think it's important for our exporters also, not just to accept the classification as provided by the importer, but also to find out, if that is the official classification of the product by their customs authorities. And we can have access to some of the authorities in the importing countries in respect of this item. And okay, so that is something very technical. Now the other one is for non-tariff barriers, Puan Jamila. You know that tariffs is one thing. Tariffs will come down. We all know that, and it is good. But there's the presence of non-tariff barriers in a lot of these importing countries, right? And that's where effective implementation of Rcep is very important. And this is where MITI plays a very important role. So what kind of channels are there for our exporters, our businesses, for example? First of all, to ascertain if there are any non-tariff barriers in that particular recipient country. And if they have a problem, can that problem be taken up with the recipient country by our governmental authorities? What are the channels open to them? And while you're checking, and then one exporter has asked, can certificates of origin under Rcep be issued by chambers or industry associations? Or is it just MITI? MITI is the only body which issues the certificate of origin. Okay.
Okay, Dato'. Before I answer for the two your question just now, just to add on the tariff classification just now, we also would like to advise our exporters, if they are not certain on the tariff description, they also can apply for the advance ruling for the rules of origin to our custom authority. Okay. So in terms of the non-tariff measure, Dato', in Rcep agreement, they have a chapter that is the avenue under the trade remedies. So this is a safeguard measures and also the anti-dumping, where actually if the exporters encounter with the injuries or threat of serious injuries in the domestic industries, so this platform actually can help the exporters. Because it's not really this one I can explain. It's not really you just like that you can impose that you mentioned that is this product is dumping or what, right? But you need to submit the application, and then they will have degrees of questions and investigation as well to investigate and to determine whether this really got a serious injuries or not. So that is the platform for the NTBs.
Puan Jamila, thank you. Well, what you explained just now are the trade remedial measures that can be taken.
Yeah.
What you explained answers clearly the issue of rising competition. You know, if there is a surge in imports from other countries into Malaysia, and you know, our companies are small, they may not have the capacity, right? They may not have the capacity, so they get overwhelmed by imports from other countries. So what you explained just now are measures which are available, and we call them trade remedial measures, anti-dumping, countervailing measures, and you have safeguard measures and so on. All these are under Rcep, which the government can invoke. Okay. Now, when I talked about non-tariff barriers, remember I raised this question. Non-tariff barriers relate to not dumping or anything like that. You know, it could be licensing requirements, it could be quantitative limitations, it could be phytosanitary measures, for example, technical barriers to trade, for example. It may be disguised as a as a measure that they can take and which are consistent with the WTO obligations. But these are non-tariff barriers which countries adopt in order to protect their own domestic industry. And these are the things, these are the issues which are of great concern to our exporters, right? Non-tariff barriers. So they need some kind of help in terms of overcoming these non-tariff barriers. of course, they'll come to MITI, and MITI hopefully will take that up. So what, in other words, you're trying to explain to the exporters that we have that platform. MITI is the body they can go to if they are encountering non-tariff barriers in a particular country and requesting our governmental authorities to take it up. So there are avenues for that, right?
Okay. To respond on that, Dato', besides also in terms of the non-tariff measure, we also have a chapter under the standards and technical regulation and conformity assessment procedures that is struck up, where it's actually led by our Jabatan Standard Malaysia. So this they have an avenue that the non-tariff measure can be reduced or can be resolved through, for example, mutual recognition agreement and etc. So that is the platform.
Yeah, but I think it's important to convey to the business community that in MITI, we have relevant platforms. They must be informed that they can always go back to MITI, to find a resolution of those issues. Itu yang mustahak, right? That's what you are saying, right? And that's important because I can tell you that, and I think even the welcoming remarks by the Deputy President highlighted the threat of competition and so on, right? So that is important. Okay. Of course, there's one question which was very specific. I don't think you will be able to answer. You refer to the gold industry.
Gold industry?
Masla, ladies love chain, rings, and all that. Again, they wanted to know what are the prospects for items made from gold under the Rcep. I mean, I don't know. I mean, not fair for you. You may not have that schedule with you.
Yeah.
Perhaps that'll be fine. One of the questions that was asked,
HS code. We need to know the exact HS code for that particular product. So if it's let's say it covers under the Rcep agreement.
Dia nak tahu lah. I hope it is lah. I hope it is because generally manufactured product. I think gold items manufactured from raw gold and all that. It can be. It will be subject to tariff reduction. Whether it is immediate or spread, or whether it's a sensitive item in some countries, because some may be producing gold items like Thailand, Hong Kong, and Hong Kong is not that. Thailand, for example, and many other countries. So they may delay the implementation or over a longer period of time, things like that. So anyway, you don't have to, to answer that. But I think the question that I asked about non-tariff barriers, is there a particular section in MITI where they can go to?
For the NTBs, actually, that is under the Jabatan Standard. But for the anti-dumping, for the trade remedies, we do have our trade practices division.
Yeah, that's true. I was instrumental in setting up that unit and also Cultivating Act and all that.
Yes.
But I know when you mentioned about SIRIM is not a governmental body per se. So if there is a representation to be made under technical barriers to trade, katakanlah, non-tariff barrier, SIRIM cannot take it up directly with the governmental agency in Japan or Korea. It has to be MITI. That's why in MITI there must be a platform, must be someone they can go to and complain about the non-tariff barriers. And MITI can try to find out through our trade commissioners there or embassy. Are they consistent? Are they implementing that measure consistent with their WTO obligation, for example? The non-tariff measures are legal and they are for a good cause. But some countries will resort to these measures and make it protectionist because they want to give protection to the domestic industry. Okay, so the question that was asked is whether, of course, they can go back to MITI. They come and see you or the WTO section or what?
BPI untuk general apa?
Okay, Dato', in terms of, for example, they have issues, they have problems, they have complaints. We do have also here in MITI, the Bahagian Pembangunan Industri Division, the Development Industry Division, right? That is actually in general, because they taken care based on the sectoral sector. So any complaints or difficulties can be email or can be channeled to this division.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now,
Yeah.
I'm afraid we are supposed to finish this session at 11 o'clock. Yeah, Jamila, you
one
wanted
more
to...
thing. I did not answer your question on the issuance authority for the PCO, right? Okay.
Yeah.
At this moment, only MITI is actually authorized to issue the preferential certificate of origin for not only Rcep, but also for the existing FTAs that we do have bilaterally or also regional. In terms of the non-preferential tariff certificate of origin, we authorize chambers of commerce. They have 62 plus active chamber of commerce. That is
Got cut. We can't hear you, Puan. We can't. Puan Jamila, you can hear me? Oh, there's a technical problem. Line got cut. Hello?
Okay, Dato', Puan Jamila line, I think, got some technical problem, but time is also running out.
Okay. All right. There's a technical problem, Puan Jamila. Puan Jamila, can you hear me? You can't. Oh my God. How am I going to suggest some, I wanted MITI to act on certain things. Can you hear me? Can the Secretariat help out, please?
Dato', we can hear you, but I think Puan Jamila lines, I think they are fixing the problem, but maybe we can...
It's very unfortunate because okay, never mind. I really think the participants will maybe for the sake of participants, I wanted them to know, and my suggestion to MITI and other relevant agencies is that the number of questions that were posed, some are very specific and all that, and I think it's very important that MITI plays an important role, in terms of really putting it down in terms of like a kind of a mini or booklet or handbook, on some of these, some specific questions that, how can it be addressed and all that, so that when exporters look and read that, they have a better understanding of what it is all about. Now, if they want to know whether a particular product is subject to preferential tariff, what is the tariff that is applicable? You don't expect the exporters to look at the whole schedule, which runs into hundreds of pages, So if MITI can sort of, put it down in a very precise and clear way in a booklet, what are the products which can enjoy, what are the tariffs, how much is the tariff, and when will it reach zero, and all those kind of things. It all can be captured in a small booklet in relation to the number of questions that you asked. That I think will be very, very useful for the private sector. I actually wanted to suggest to Jamila that MITI and other relevant agencies involved in implementing Rcep must work closely with national business councils, national business councils and all that, to really find out exactly, what kind of information that the private sector needs in order to utilize the Rcep benefits to the maximum. That's the suggestion that I wanted to make. Because the participants you're listening to this, so it's fine, so that's, never mind. Maybe the Secretariat can follow it up with Puan Jamila. Jamila, you're there? No, she can't.
Yes, Dato'.
Now you can.
Yeah, I'm here.
Did you hear what I said?
Not really. Can you repeat?
No, I think the basic message that, thank you very much for your very comprehensive presentation, very useful. But I thought as a follow-up to this session, if MITI can, you have an idea of what kind of questions that come out from the participants, including from myself. And if our officials can sit down in MITI and maybe even together with the Chinese Chamber of Commerce, Michael Chai is very good and he's very knowledgeable. We can sit down together and see how we can sort of compile, the question, kind of questions that were asked, what kind of information that we can prepare, and come out in by way of a booklet. And I know Singapore has done it. Singapore Foreign Affairs, Salamia was leading the negotiations. They come out with a very comprehensive booklet. We call it mini booklet, like answering all these specific questions in relation to trade in goods, scheduling commitments. What are how long? What is the phase-out period, and so on and so forth, or which product? So, and there the classification will be there. HS code then, the E code saja lah. So if you can, do that, that will be a great help to the private sector. Then we will see that the implementation will be effective, and there will be real benefits for the manufacturers. Boleh ya? Anyway,
Okay,
you can follow up with that. Michael Chai, I think. We're very happy to hear from you once you're back in the office and see how we can help you, in terms of compiling a booklet on your side, answering all those questions. I mean, the time is limited. I don't want to say too much. So with that, you want to answer, Jamila? Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Datuk. Thank you, Datuk, for your suggestion. Yeah, it's good. What can we suggest that maybe Mr. Michael can compile all the questions compile the question from the members, and then can send it to us in MITI, and we can have a look on this, and we can provide an answers. And the idea to have a booklet also is good. So maybe we can also think of that. And we can have a channel as well as to put into website meetings for everyone's information.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very good.
thank you, Datuk.
Yeah, I appreciate that very much, because our role in MITI, I don't know why I say our role. I'm no longer in MITI. I was at 35.
You really cannot move on, Datuk, with MITI.
No, I'm very passionate about my country. I want more people to benefit. And I want, what's important is MITI and other agencies must play a facilitative role. In other words, must find ways and means of assisting the private sector. Otherwise, we will not be able to achieve MITI's objective. It's for the good of the country, right? So we all must work together. There are many things we can do. But the important thing is it must be facilitative, not obstructive, not restrictive. Right?
Yeah, yes, Dato'. Your insight is really valid and true, Dato'. So actually, we always can work together, can work closely together with private sectors. That we need also help and cooperation from the private sectors. And to inform also, Dato', in MITI, we do have our regular pocket talks and awareness program that is actually organized by our AKI division here. So the businesses, the chambers and exporters can join us, can go to website and can register. That is for free, Dato'.
Okay. Thank you very much, Pradal. I'm sorry the time is a constraining factor. We have actually exceeded. We should have ended at 11, but I'm so sorry about that. But I think it was very useful. We are deeply appreciative of your offer. That's the spirit. That's the commitment. Be passionate, and the country will move forward. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank all of you as well for participating in this webinar. I hope you found the presentation and the responses to the questions useful, informative, and if not, I think I'm sure there will be many more opportunities for us to follow up. So on that note, I wish to conclude this webinar session and wish everybody success, and have a good day. Thank you, Puan Jamila, as well.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You can leave now.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dato'. Thank you, Mr. Michael.